So really, ain't nothing in this integration. I need some land. I need some jobs. My people need jobs. We need something so we can build and do for ourselves, and we must have some land. Now, what's your suggestion? What should be my movement? Integrate?
Yeah, equal rights in a mixed society.
In this society, where you still own the government, you still own the train station, the railroad plant, the electric plant, these television cameras, you still make all the food, you control everything, and I'm like a leech on a dog's back. All I can do is just wait for you. I can't do nothing for myself. Integrating it in your society don't mean I'm doing nothing for myself. You doing it all. I want to do something for myself. I'm tired of depending on you. You might get broke one day. Your stores might close. Your gas pumps might cut off again. I'm relying on you now. Can I have my own land?
I'm back. Once again, the song, this is Ryan HRap B. Williams. This is the End of the Bench Media. And a few minutes with HRap is the program. Thank you for tapping in. As I do every show, thank my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there's no me. Without me, there's no program. You'd be doing something else with your valuable time. But thank you for doing this. As you know, hit that like, hit that share, tell a friend and tell a friend. If you're watching this live, go to www.theendofthebench.com. That way, the Black History video you can see, when you get through watching this, you can go right over there. Watch it. It's right next to it. And they're right next to each other at the top of the web page. It is www.theendofthebench.com right there. You can watch this episode live, comment if you like, and as well as watch the video from One Mic History by my man Country Boy in its entirety. Thank you for tapping in once again. It is a beautiful situation that I'm coming to you today because I'm kind of excited about this, even though I'm going to speak about chaotic situation. But as the title says, basically the title is saying it's game time, a game time. And you see the late great ancestor W.B. Du Bois as part of the thumbnail. He spoke about the talented 10. He said the talented 10% of us will lead us. He later on changed his mind, but I'm going to focus on that for right now, because as we get older, our philosophies and ideologies change. But I'm going to talk about the talented 10, but I'm going to expand that, because the talented 10 basically the academic excellence of the Black community will lead us. What I'm going to say is the people who have ingenuity, the people who have stick-to-itiveness, the people who have everything that we need to be success, they will lead us. And the reason I'm bringing that up, and the reason I'm so excited and looking forward to this period, is because we're entering a strange time in the United States of America. And what do I mean by a strange time? The time I'm speaking of is a time in which you have warring classes. You have warring class. You have the upper class, the billionaire class, and they attempted to control the world. And then you have the portion of the community that is the working class, and we kind of confused. And then you have the class that's on the come up, because nobody's going to be on their back forever unless you choose to be. And excuse me, that's what I want us to understand. No one has to suffer the tyranny of this wicked government unless we choose to. For the last 65, 70 years, I think we've chosen to lay down and go with the flow. At this point, you have a guy who's at the top of the food chain being controlled by a billionaire, other billionaires who say that people like us are pointless. They literally have documentation and a doctrine that says the civil rights movement was a waste of time and Black people are lazy and shiftless and they know nothing. Thank you. Thank you for underestimating us. As I've said this, if I said this one, I've said it 1,000 times. Evil only knows how to attack one way, head on. They don't. It's all gas, no brakes. And when you underestimate your opponent, David and Goliath. You know I was going to bring a biblical reference in, but it's David and Goliath. Goliath walked up on this small entity called David, assumed that he had no chance at defeating him. You know the rest of the story. David eventually became king. As I said last week, we are David in that story. Let's make sure we become the kings of this country. Meaning we won't inflict tyranny, we won't inflict discrimination, we won't inflict hate or anything of that nature. But what we will be is at the top of the food chain, because we are at the precipice of a moment, or as Dr. Greg Carr said, we are in an inflection point. And what is that inflection point? This is the Reconstruction period of the United States of America. This guy's running the country clean into the ground. The last time was the Reconstruction portion. The northern portion of the country was fighting the southern portion of the country for states' rights and the ability to own human beings and dominate the financials of the country. That's going on right now. The billionaires are the southern portion of the country, and the millionaire and the working class are, quote unquote, metaphorically the northern class. But we're not going to be part of the country per se. Metaphorically, we're going to remove ourselves from this fight. This is a fight that's not our fight. We're fighting for our independence, our ability to survive, our ability to function in a full functioning society that we control, and we control our purse strings. We control the everything that's about this country that we can control. We will. That's why we will have political science people. That's why we will have attorneys. That's why we will have people who are in police chiefs in every facet of the country. And then and only then can we control our own destiny. But while these people fight, what we're going to do is lead from behind. We usually get in front of the civil rights and the cultural rights and the civic duties of the country. And Black Lives Matter and civil rights. And we were at the forefront of those, and people saw what we did, organized, prepared for their fight, took notes from our fight, and got their rights done. That's why they can turn you against people who migrated from here, because they're going to take your jobs, and you're foolish enough. If you are foolish enough, you will take on that fight. That's not a fight. That's our fight, because those jobs are available to anybody who wants them, and we're not going to pay attention to those jobs because we're on an upward trajectory. We're not going to take a step back to move forward. We're going to stop, survey the situation, and then move forward. We're not taking one step back to move two. No, we're not doing that. We know what the past has. As I say, we need to study our past to understand why we're here, Sankofa, and so we can move forward in the future. These are the steps that we need to take, in my personal opinion. Lead from behind this time. Allow the working class white people who have galvanized, whether you're Greek, Italian, all the people who are from Europe, they've galvanized, and they're upset in Nebraska. They're upset in Kentucky. They're upset in South Carolina. They're upset in Georgia, Mississippi, and so forth and so on. Well, what we can do is just put a bug in their ear and say, hey, well, what about that? And what about that? Make sure those things will be advantageous to us. Because once you say, hey, they're going to take, all you have to do is stand behind your enemy, be the king maker, and say, hey, Mr. White guy, what about this? You guys are mostly the veterans. Why ain't y'all fighting for veterans' rights? You guys are mostly this. Why ain't y'all fighting for that? And meanwhile, just like they did us in the past, they let women's rights, other cultural rights, LGBTQIE rights, and all other rights, and we could just whisper in their ears and make sure, hey, what about this? See, they gonna get y'all like they got us, and then we move right into it because we are not a learned society. We are always sitting around waiting on people to tell us what to do. So now at this point, we grab the puppet strings. We're Geppetto. We have fought the good fight for long enough up front. Let's take a step back in the fight. Let the majority of the country, remember, we're only 13% of the population, so let them fight the good fight, and we benefit from it. That way, we can make our children academically astute. We can make our children industrially astute. We can make them culturally astute, and we can build up like our brothers in the Jewish community, like our brothers and brothers and sisters in the Latino community, like our brothers and sisters in the European communities that are at the top. Some of these people who are at the top wasn't always at the top, but because we fought and scratched and cussed and fussed, we allowed them to walk past us because we were trying to lock arms, and nobody wanted to lock arms with us. All you have to do is, again, check history. And they thought, like to check history. The Chinese said, we're going to do this 100 years at a time. Okay, it's time for us to start thinking about 2125. Like I say all the time, the goal in this program and the goal that we should be living for as a community is to make sure our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren have a much better lives than our great-grandparents' great-grandparents. That's what we're living for. And if we do these things and if we follow these steps, we won't have to suffer the fate of the people in this video I'm about to show you. You already know it's video time. I'm going to talk about my main man, Country Boy, and One Mic history, because these are the things that we've been faced with for decades, months, years, in almost a century now. Well, more than a century now. So let us look at how they treat us and never forget this. This is why they want to ban books. This is why they want to get rid of history, because if you see what happened in history, you'll guard yourself against that. Let's look at some of this history. And remember, you can watch this on Country Boy's page, One Mic History on YouTube, or you can please go to www.theendofthebench.com and watch this in its entirety and my program in its entirety. Both of us benefit. I'll be back shortly.
Let's get started. Although the Declaration of Independence states that all men were created equal, the statement was not actually law in the United States until after the Civil War. It wasn't until the 13th in 1865, the 14th in 1868, and the 15th Amendment in 1870 that ended slavery, gave equal protections under the law, and gave African American men the right to vote that the federal government even attempted to make men actually equal. Still, African Americans were often treated very differently from whites, especially in the South. Many state legislatures began to enact laws that mandated the segregation of races. As I spoke to in previous episodes, these laws became known as Jim Crow laws. It was not until 1890 that these laws were directly challenged in the court. In 1892, an African-American man by the name of Homer Plessy refused to give his seat to a white man on a train in New Orleans, which he was required to do under the separate car law that was passed by the Louisiana legislature in 1890. Because of his actions, he was arrested. Plessy then contended that the Louisiana law separating blacks from whites on trains violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. By 1896, the case had made its way all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. By a vote of 7-1, the Supreme Court ruled against Plessy, ruling that racially segregated public facilities were legal so long as the facilities for black people and white people were made equal. Justice Henry Billings would state that the objection of the 14th Amendment is undoubtful to enforce the equality of two races before the law. In the nature of things, it could not have been intended to abolish the distinction based on color or to endorse social as distinguished from political equality. If one race is inferior to the other socially, the Constitution of the United States cannot put them on the same plane. Basically, the 14th Amendment only applied to political and civil rights, but not social rights. The ruling created sanctioned laws barring African Americans from sharing the same buses, schools, and other public facilities as whites, and establishing separate but equal as a doctrine in the United States. As a result of the Plessy decision, early in the 20th century, the Supreme Court continued to uphold the legality of Jim Crow laws and other forms of racial distinction. For instance, in 1899, in the case of Cummings versus Richmond Board of Education, the Supreme Court refused to issue an injunction preventing the school board from spending tax money on a white school when the same school board had closed a black school for financial reasons. Also in 1926, in Garland v. Rice, the court upheld the school's decision to bar a student of Chinese descent from a white school. Despite the Supreme Court ruling in Plessy versus Ferguson and similar cases since, organizations like the NAACP continued to press for the end of Jim Crow. Beginning in the 1930s, the NAACP's Legal Defense and Education Fund began to try to make progress in overturning segregation in the courts. From 1935 to 1938, the legal arm of the NAACP devised a strategy to attack Jim Crow laws by striking them in the field of education where they perceived them to be the weakest. In 1933, the NAACP's Legal Defense Fund decided to take on the case of Donald Murray, an applicant to the University of Maryland's law school who was rejected solely because of his race. The NAACP decided to challenge this practice in the Maryland court system. So before the Baltimore City Court in 1935, NAACP lawyers argued that Donald Gaines Murray was just as qualified as any white applicant, and that solely based on his race that he was rejected. Furthermore, they argued that since black law schools in which Murray could attend.
And like I said, as you see, they're doing everything they can. This is the same game plan. Come right at you. We're not going to let you do this, because if I allow you to do this, you'll become equal. And if you become even, you're going to be leaving. And this is why I did the episode of this nature today. Because at this point, we are about to be even. The president is running the stock market into the ground. He's ruining trade situations throughout the world. The northern friends, the southern friends, the eastern friends, and the western friends. He's making people say, you know what? I don't need you, America. The last, as I stated before, the last time the country was in this much chaos, it was called Reconstruction. This was an agricultural country, but we were transitioning into an industrial country. At this point, we don't produce hardly anything. And this is why. Guess what? And instead of industrial, it's technology. And if it's technology, who controls the technology? The people who are software engineers, the people who are software developers, there's people who are running software. And guess who even is more powerful than that? The people who are in charge of the trades. Because one of the things with Bitcoin, it's the biggest thing in the world right now. They need for Bitcoin mining, they need their machines running properly. They need their machines running properly. You're gonna have to have fluid, which is liquids, which is water, which is plumbing. If you're the best plumber in the world, or you're the best plumbers in the world, you'll need it. If you need to build these structures so you can mine Bitcoin, guess what? And that means carpenters and people who instruct in charge of being engineers are needed. We need to be those people. And the most important thing in a technological world is power. Power. So that means we need to get back into the trades. Once we dominate the trades, it's just like being dominant in industry. We're already dominating in creativity. We're already dominating in development. We're already dominating in every facet of life. But we continue to reach over and ask for jobs. Since everybody's scrambling chaotically, since the president is making the people in China go, screw you, and you can tell by the ability, but what the move that the Chinese made. I learned this via the sister Joyanne Reed. Thank you, Joy. They are creating partnerships with American partners. And when you only have allies and you start disrespecting the allies to the north, Canada, and to the south, Mexico, and the Chinese swoop in and say, hey, I got a better deal for you. That's just like if you're a devout Nike wearer, and then all of a sudden Adidas start making a more comfortable shoe with a better price. Are you wrong to start doing that? No, you're not. Even if Nike is saying, hey man, we're gonna help you, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and we help you when you buy our Nikes. But if Adidas come through and say we got a better price and an equal quality, a product of equal quality, of course you would buy that. And that's what Mexico is doing. They're about to make the Panama Canal obsolete. So all those trade friends and Colombia and Brazil and things of that nature, and especially here in America, they're gonna go funnel those through Mexico, which will bring more money to Mexico with cheaper labor. Guess what? Cheaper labor, more money means all of a sudden Mexico is no longer intimidated by the United States of America. That means the president of the United States is running the country to the ground, which means we're going to be staggering. And then guess what's going to happen then? We as Americans need to come together and fight off this. Yep. All of a sudden, the black man, the black woman, the black child is more valuable. You know, kind of like September 11th, 2001. All of a sudden, when the country was under attack, we were Americans. In the Vietnam War, we are Americans. The Korean War, we were Americans. WW1 and 2, Americans. As soon as you need to fight the Buffalo Soldiers, go attack those people. I'm not condoning that, but I'm just saying, anytime it's time to fight, we are part of the more perfect union. The moment they get the footing and standing back, oh man, well, y'all back being the N-word. So guess what? What we're going to do is dominate that. How we can do it is control everything that they need. These people who are at the top, the Elon Musk, the Donald Trump, and other billionaires, they're not the creatives in this situation. It's people that look like you and I. It's people that look like you and I. Every time you turn around, you hear about how Colonel Sanders stole a recipe from a black man. Uncle Nearest came about because the man who created Jack Daniels stole that from Uncle Nearest. Every time you turn around, you hear about a black woman creating the concept of the Ring doorbell, her and her husband. You hear about black people creating. Look, if you are the working class, necessity is the mother of invention. So if you are the ruling class, you're not inventing anything. So let them continue to do that while we continue to be creative. But while we're being creative, we're going to get into, like we did in the Reconstruction period, we're going to get in the office. So we're going to be able to protect them. We don't have to have laws to give us the advantage over anything. We're just going to start constructing laws in order to keep people at bay. And if you keep people at bay, you become stronger and stronger and stronger. We don't have to hurt anyone. We don't have to disrespect, discriminate, or colonize anyone. What we do is become the most powerful force in this country. And then the goofballs in the khaki pants and the torches will be saying the black people ain't, oh, they ain't gonna say black people, but you know the word they're gonna use. They're gonna say the black people can't replace us. And that's our job, to make people feel as if they can't be replaced. And then we revert back to the book. We shoot back and we understand and we think about people like Ida B. Wells and Sojourn the Truth and put out narratives of every black household needs a weapon. And in the event that someone attacks you on a unwarranted attack, you'll be able to protect yourself. And then black communities will be prepared to protect themselves. So the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys and the Klan and the skinheads, they'll understand we don't want that fight, because they really don't. As Malcolm X said, that's why they gang up on you, because they don't really want the fight. But we are creative. We are a humble community, artistic community, and they assume that we won't fight. But guess what? We're also the Zulu Nation, Shaka Zulu. We're also the Ashantis. We don't play games either. So what we have to do in this form of the Reconstruction is this: be prepared to fight first, physically, and then academically and creatively. And once we get there, we won't be moved. With that being said, thank you for tapping in. I'll see you tomorrow. It will be Thursday. I'll see you then, but I need you to, you know what I need you to do. I need you to hit that like, I need you to hit that share, and I also need you to subscribe if you haven't already done it. Thank you for your support, and I really need to say good evening, good night, good day, whatever time you're watching this. It's your man, HRap. This is the End of the Bench Media. 2 fingers, 1 word, and y'all already know what I am.
And it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why